Welcome back to my series, Rooted in Rome, where I'm giving you the cultural, historical, and political context that has been taken out of the Christianity story. This will be the last part of episode 10, and I'm going to pick up right where we left off, so I hope that you are all caught up. Now, we left off talking about the 4 ways that Protestants justify slavery using the Bible, and so just to remind you, the first 2 is the curse of Ham, and the second one is the slaves obey your masters from Ephesians 6 and 5. I'm going to read the full scripture. It says, slaves, obey your earthly masters with fear and trembling and singleness of heart as you obey Christ. Okay, so let's start in with the third one. Now, the third way was the order of creation argument. Protestant slave owners argued that God created a hierarchy. It was God, then man, then woman, then children, and then slaves. And this hierarchy is natural and ordained by God. Disrupting it is sinful and against God's design. The fourth way is slavery Christianizes Africans. So they argue that Africans in Africa are pagans and that they're going to hell, and that slavery brings them to Christian nations where they can be saved. Therefore, slavery is merciful. That's the same logic that the Catholic Church used, same justification, different denominational label. Now, I want to tell you that Protestant denominations split over slavery. And let's talk about how deep this goes. Because in 1845, the Southern Baptist Convention was founded. Why? Because Southern Baptists wanted to keep owning slaves, and Northern Baptists said that it was wrong. So they split. And the Southern Baptist Convention was created explicitly to defend slavery. They argued that the Bible permits slavery, that abolitionists are ignoring scripture, and that slavery is God's will. The Southern Baptist Convention didn't officially apologize for supporting slavery until 1995. That is 150 years after they were founded to defend it. And even today, the Southern Baptist Convention is one of the largest Protestant denominations in America. This is the legacy we're dealing with. All right, guys, so I have shown you the theology, okay? I've shown you Luther and Calvin, the men who created it. I've shown you how Protestant nations used it to justify the exact same conquest and slavery that Catholic nations had already started. It's the same blueprint, just different management. But here's what I haven't shown you yet. How did this theology get from white Protestant preachers into the mouths of enslaved Black people? Because that's the mechanism that matters. That's how the theology of oppression became the worship of the oppressed. See, slave owners didn't just work enslaved people. They controlled what they could think, what they could believe, what they could sing, what they could hope for. And they did this through a very specific tool, the slave Bible. They literally edited scripture. They cut out the parts about liberation, but kept the parts about submission. And they stood in plantation churches and preached sermons designed to keep our ancestors passive. They made them accept their chains as God's will, and they made them sing about their worthlessness while they worked themselves to death. Okay? In the next episode, I'm going to show you exactly how that happened. I'm going to show you the literal slave Bible that they created with 90% of the Old Testament removed. The actual sermons that white preachers gave to enslaved people, what enslaved people were forbidden to know, and how enslaved people took these scraps and transformed them into something powerful. Because here's the thing. Enslaved people didn't just accept this theology, they subverted it. They sang songs that sounded like submission, but were actually prayers of freedom. They built churches that became centers of resistance, and they took the religion of their oppressors and they made it their own. But the theology still left scars, and those scars are still visible in Black churches today. So before we can talk about what we're singing now, we need to understand what our ancestors were forced to sing then and why. I'll see you on the next one.